Coming to you live from Angkasa Puri, Kuala Lumpur, I'm Muhammad Amin, and this is News at 10. Our headlines for tonight. No specific suggested date for the dissolution of Parliament. Well, police open investigation paper on former Attorney General's memoir. Hello and good evening. Now, UMNO's proposal to dissolve Parliament soon is a collective decision made by the party's Supreme Council. But Prime Minister Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob declined to elaborate when asked whether specific dates had been suggested for the dissolution to pave the way for the 15th general election, GE15, and urged the people to be patient. However, Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri, who is also UMNO Vice President, did not rule out the possibility of GE15 being held this year, as stated by UMNO's Secretary General, Dato' Sri Ahmad Mazlan, in a statement issued after last night's Supreme Council meeting. He also said there was no conditions that had to be met before agreeing to call for GE15. He further noted that the party's call to hold the election soon was not something new, as it wants to return the mandate to the people so they can choose the government of their choice.
Pada malam ini 30
elections this year.
Tak ada, kita dari segi UMNO ni kita ada top 5, ada biro politik. So tak ada siapa yang beri sebarang condition kalau kita nak buat pilihan raya, dan ada asas dia yang kuat untuk kita percepatkan dan kita setuju secara bersama dan kita buat. Cuma date tu tunggu pengumuman.
Berapa lama nak tunggu Tan Sri?
Tunggulah. Kalau daripada tahun lepas dah tunggu, tahun ni pun boleh tunggu lagi.
September 2020.
Well, Dato' Sri Ahmad Mazlan, after the meeting last night, said the Supreme Council wants Parliament to be dissolved as soon as possible. Well, he said the Prime Minister must seek the consent of the young Di-Pertuan Agong for the dissolution in line with Article 40, subsection 1 of the Federal Constitution. In other news, the grade for primary school headmasters and senior assistants will be upgraded to the maximum of DG54. Well, Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri said the move would benefit 2,047 education service officers nationwide. Explaining further, the Premier said this will upgrade the substantive grades for the posts of headmaster and senior assistant teacher, as well as enable those who have been promoted to a higher grade to remain in that position until grade DG54. He explained that headmasters on grade DG48 or personnel to holder would no longer have to drop to senior assistants or ordinary teachers in primary schools once they have been promoted to grades DG52 and DG54 on a time-based promotion or excellence basis.
Mengkaji struktur perjawatan guru besar dan guru penolong kanan sekolah rendah melalui cadangan model sekolah dengan penetapan grade fleksi sehingga DG54 bagi memastikan kedudukan pentadbir sekolah sentiasa terpelihara di samping mengekalkan keharmonian dalam kalangan warga sekolah.
Well, apart from that, the Prime Minister said grade DG48 officers in the education service will also be given the opportunity to be appointed as senior assistants in primary schools. This means that senior assistants in primary schools would not be limited to grade DG44 only. The career path of outstanding teachers in primary schools will also be extended up to grades DG52 and DG54, as 90.68% of primary school teachers are now graduate teachers. Well, Senior Education Minister Dr. Razzie Jidin has advised schools to refer to the police before issuing any notices related to attempted kidnapping in schools to avoid creating public anxiety. Well, he said the schools may have good intention, but sometimes such reminders can be misinterpreted and spark unfounded concerns. Well, he said the Education Ministry had reminded state education departments and district education officers to tell school authorities to consult the police before issuing such notices.
Sebab bila sekolah keluarkan, kadang-kadang ibu bapa ni bukan fikir dalam kawasan sekolah saja. Dekat taman perumahan, anak nak pergi kedai dan sebagainya. Dan ini boleh menimbulkan kerisauan dalam kalangan ibu bapa. Sebab itu saya kata pihak sekolah kita dah minta supaya rujuk kepada pihak polis, maklumkan kepada kami kalau nak keluarkan peringatan supaya ianya tak jadi satu kerisauan baru dalam masyarakat. Yes, kita perlu beringat, pada masa yang sama kita perlu pastikan supaya ianya tidak menimbulkan kerisauan dalam kalangan ibu bapa.
The matter is said to have sparked panic among parents, with the situation aggravated by the spread of unverified videos on alleged kidnap attempts. Well, Malaysia requires an estimated 218 palliative specialists, which is an important component of health protection and primary health care, as stated by the World Health Organization, the WHO. While speaking at the launching of the World Hospice and Palliative Care Day 2022 at the Rembau Hospital today, Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the target was to have a total of 70 palliative specialists in the country by 2030. Well, Khairi said in Malaysia it is estimated that a total of 150,000 adult patients require palliative treatment. Although palliative services have grown in the country, he said the MOH is only able to cover around 10 to 15% of the total number of people treated. Well, for now, Khairi added there are only 19 palliative specialists with an additional 32 trainee medical specialists for the treatment in the country.
Plan strategik kita bukan hanya melihat kepada mengukuhkan rawatan paliatif di peringkat hospital dengan penambahan doktor pakar, penambahan jururawat, tetapi juga meningkatkan akses kepada mereka yang berada di komuniti, berada di rumah melalui kerjasama dengan kesihatan primer dan juga dengan badan-badan bukan kerajaan seperti mana yang ada pada hari ini, yang telah pun memberi kerjasama kepada KKM sepanjang beberapa dekad yang lepas.
Beginning this year, Khairi said most state hospitals have resident palliative specialists. As for Perlis, Terengganu and Kelantan, he said palliative medical services will be expanded by the year 2025. Malaysia's Generational Endgame, or GEG, undertaken through the Tobacco and Smoking Control Bill 2022, has been described as a visionary effort to strengthen tobacco control. Well, the GEG has been lauded and backed by 17 international non-governmental organizations, or NGOs, and individuals from the international tobacco control community. Well, the organizations said in a joint statement that the excellent policy will greatly enhance Malaysia's efforts to tackle the tobacco problem more effectively and join the many other countries and jurisdictions that are focusing on the tobacco endgame. Now, they noted that countries and jurisdictions that had reduced their adult smoking prevalence include Panama with 5.3%, New Zealand with 9.4%, Hong Kong with 9.5%, and Australia with 10.3%. Now, this, they said, was done by applying stringent tobacco control measures according to the World Health Organization Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, to which Malaysia is a party. Malaysia's GEG is therefore a sensible policy proposal to insulate youths from lifelong addiction and chronic diseases, which will also reap social and economic benefits in the long term. It is also considered a preventive vaccine that complements the curative approach to the tobacco pandemic. The organizations thus reiterated their full support for Malaysia's visionary approach to protect its future generations from the tobacco scourge. Coming up, 261 Malaysians victims to job scam syndicate rescued. Stay tuned. Well, police have opened an investigation into a memoir titled My Story, Justice in the Wilderness by Tan Sri Tommy Thomas. Royal Malaysia Police PDRM Secretary Dato' Nursia Muhammad Saaduddin in a statement today said they had also taken the former Attorney General's statement. Explaining further, Dato' Nursia said following instructions by Prime Minister Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob to investigate the possibility of wrongdoings by Tan Sri Tommy, an investigation was initiated by the police. Now, she said that an updated investigation paper will be referred again to the Attorney General's chambers on 3rd October for further instructions. Now, the Prime Minister yesterday said the investigation would be conducted under Sections 124, subsection 1 and 203A of the Penal Code, Section 4 of the Sedition Act, Section 8 of the Official Secrets Act, and Section 23 of the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Act. In his memoir, Tan Sri Thomas had written on the appointment of judges, excessive interference by the executive in the judiciary, and selective prosecution. Well, some 261 Malaysian victims who had fallen victims to job scam syndicates and who were stranded in Cambodia have been successfully rescued so far. Well, according to a statement today from the Foreign Ministry, 171 victims have been brought back to Malaysia and the remaining 90 are still waiting for the repatriation process. Asia flight AK535 on 30th September is the latest flight to bring home 13 more victims. The Foreign Ministry and the Malaysian diplomatic missions in the countries involved continue to be committed in establishing a close cooperative relationship with the governments of the countries concerned to intensify efforts to locate, rescue and bring back home safely Malaysian citizens who are victims of this syndicate. The heads of Malaysian diplomatic missions in Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar and Thailand have also been asked to keep trying to resolve this issue quickly and thoroughly. The Foreign Ministry, together with PDRM, is also now coordinating efforts to enable closer cooperation between PDRM and the authorities of the countries concerned via special meetings to address this issue. The Foreign Ministry has also held discussions with KCOM to prepare a more comprehensive communication plan to provide exposure and awareness to the public and target groups so that they are not easily deceived and trapped by this syndicate. Malaysia believes that the establishment of an international monetary cooperation mechanism should be considered to ensure a more effective, equitable financial system that is able to balance the needs of universal development. Well, Finance Minister Tengku Dato' Sri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz said such cooperation is not a new thing since there has been cooperation at the global level held to deal with the uncertainty of international currency market before. Tengku Dato' Sri Zafrul said one of the examples is the Plaza Accord in 1985, which aimed to depreciate the value of the US dollar against the Japanese yen and the German mark through intervention in the international currency market. This was followed by the Louvre Accord in 1987, which aimed to stabilize the international currency market and stop the continuous decline of the US dollar following the Plaza Accord. Well, besides that, he said other collaboration that had been implemented at the world level was during the global financial crisis back in 2008, where central banks in developed countries worked together to prevent the financial crisis from spreading around the world. The minister further said multilateral institutions such as the International Monetary Fund and World Bank also need to be more proactive in helping developing countries such as Malaysia in this region.
Balas tanggungjawab dengan apa-apa keputusan mereka. Sudah pastinya saya akan menyuarakan perkara ini di mesyuarat musim luruh Bank Dunia dan IMF yang akan bersidang pada pertengahan Oktober kelak.
Well, there is a need to provide a bigger allocation for the Property Management Division of BPH of the Prime Minister's Department for better management of government quarters, federal communal buildings, federal resorts, as well as policy and development. Prime Minister's Department Senior Deputy Secretary General of Management, Dato' Muhammad Ismail, said BPH was allocated 200 million ringgit this year, but the amount was not enough.
Memang kita sentiasa dapat peruntukan dan pekerjaan untuk maintenance dan menyelenggara RPP di bawah BPH dan termasuk kuartal sekali. Dan kita peruntukan itu every year peruntukan, dan kita akan tingkatkan dari segi penyelenggaraan supaya penghuni kuartal itu secure.
While speaking at the closing ceremony of the Government Quarters Resident Community Sports Meet in Putrajaya today, Dato' Mohammed said the sufficient allocation would be 500 million ringgit, as the fund would be used not only to maintain government quarters but other assets under BPH's supervision. He said BPH would take strict action against occupants of government quarters who fail to comply with regulations, such as opening workshops at the premises. Well, the Ministry of Rural Development, or KPLB, is considering disposing of the debts of 20,000 Federal Land Consolidation and Rehabilitation Authority, or FELCRA, settlers, amounting to 230 million ringgit. Its Minister, Dato' Sri Mazir Khalid, said the process is currently in the final stages and will be announced soon. According to Dato' Sri Mazir, this dead areas issue has been raised for over 30 years by FELCRA settlers, including the current generation and also those who have died.
Nak tolak tanah, nak tanam pokok, nak pagar, itu dikira semua sekali itu atas satu individu, atas satu peserta. So total tu, kemudian 5 tahun kemudian tanah dia dapat hasil, barulah start nak potong. Tapi kalau itu pun ikut pendapatan, FELCRA pula tak mendesak untuk kata awak mesti bayar satu amount. FELCRA pun bagi ruanglah kepada dia orang kalau pendapatan rendah. So jadi dia sampai second generation pun ada yang masih terhutang.
He told this to reporters after officiating the FELCRA Keluarga Malaysia Carnival mini tour in Kampung Batu Karang in Pasir Mas, Kelantan today. Malaysia Aviation Group, the MAG, is committed to investing and supporting the development of the workforce of tomorrow. Well, MAG Group Chairman Tan Sri Wan Zulkifli Wan Arifin said it is necessary to ensure the continuous creation and development of high-skilled workforce, as they are one of the crucial elements to a smooth services and operation.
Our vision is to be the leading travel and aviation services group in Asia. And our long-term business plan 2.0 is designed to realize this vision. It is my belief that we can only realize this vision if we have the right talents in the organization.
Tan Sri Wan Zulkifli said this in his speech when opening the 2022 MAG Open Day in Petaling Jaya, Selangor today. Well, he said MAG will offer up to 400 job opportunities from various business units supporting the aviation and airline business, including technical crew, cabin crew, engineering, catering, business strategy, airport operations and e-commerce. He added that the Open Day is organized to support the government's effort to expedite Malaysia's post-pandemic socio-economic recovery and growth. On the foreign front, 5.9 magnitude earthquake in Sumatra claims 1 life, wounding dozen others. More on that right after this. Well, a 5.9 magnitude earthquake hit Indonesia's Sumatra Island early today, killing at least 1 person and injuring dozens as locals rushed out of the buildings seeking safety. And according to the U.S. Geological Survey, USGS, the quake hit at a relatively shallow depth of 13 kilometers just before 2:30 a.m. local time, about 40 kilometers from the town of Sibolga in North Sumatra province. Well, a man in his 50s died from a heart attack triggered by the quake, and at least 25 other people people were injured. Authorities are still gathering reports on damage, but electricity poles and telecommunication towers have been hit, knocking out services. Well, more than 50 aftershocks were recorded by the Indonesian Meteorology and Geophysics Agency. Its head, Dwi Korita Karnawati, advised residents to watch for further tremors and urged people to seek shelter on safe ground. Indonesia experiences frequent earthquakes due to its position on the Pacific Ring of Fire, an arc of intense seismic activity where tectonic plates collide. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol condemned what he called recent military provocations by the North and vowed to strengthen joint military drills with the United States. Well, in a televised speech during South Korea's 74th Armed Forces Day ceremony, Yoon said South Korean government will further strengthen the Korea-US joint exercises, will respond strongly to provocations and threats by North Korea. Well, he added, should North Korea resort to nuclear weapons, it will face overwhelming and stern response by US and South Korean armies. Earlier today, North Korea fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles toward the sea off the east coast, marking Pyongyang's 4th launch in a week as it ratchets up tensions around the Korean peninsula. The launch comes after the navies of South Korea, the United States and Japan staged trilateral anti-submarine exercises on Friday for the first time in 5 years and follows a visit by U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris to the region this week. The United Nations Security Council has imposed sanctions against the North for its ballistic missile and nuclear tests. However, Pyongyang rejects such moves as infringement of its sovereign right to self-defense and space exploration. Well, Latvia general poll kicks off today under the shadow of neighboring Russia's invasion of Ukraine, with the Baltic states' pro-EU and pro-NATO Prime Minister Krišjānis Kariņš likely to secure victory. Well, polls show a weakening of populists, conservatives and the Social Democratic Party, Harmony, which usually has strong support from Latvia's large Russian-speaking minority. Well, according to politics experts, Kariņš was most likely to win, but it would depend on how many smaller parties supporting him get past the 5% threshold for entering parliament. Now, the main issues in the elections in this country of 1.8 million people have been the war in Ukraine, the cost of living crisis, and a desire for energy independence from Russia. Well, the outgoing government has shown major support for Ukraine, hiked defense spending, and worked towards greater energy security. Well, Kariņš's party, New Unity, tops the polls, scoring 13.3% in one poll this month. Harmony, which scored 20% at the last elections in 2018, has been on a path of gradual decline due to a series of corruption scandals. Well, the party has regularly come first in elections over the past decade, but it has never found enough allies to be able to govern. Harmony has condemned Russia's invasion, but has been less vocal about accusations of human rights atrocities carried out by Russia in Ukraine. The Russian-speaking electorate has turned to 2 new parties, one that is openly pro-Kremlin and another favorable to Russia, but less staunchly so. Well, on to sports. Well, Jamal Musiala scored once and set up 2 more goals as champions Bayern Munich bounced back from their recent decline to beat Bayern Leverkusen, a 4-0, ending the 4-game winless run in the Bundesliga. The German international delivered a superb performance, fortifying Bayern's confidence ahead of Tuesday's Champions League group game against Viktoria Plzeň and the Bundesliga big match against Borussia Dortmund. Well, 3 minutes into the game, Musiala set up Leroy. And on to tennis, Jannik Sinner continued his attempted quest to qualify for the Nitto ATP Finals when he defeated Alexander Vucic at the Sofia Open. Now, in a dominant display, the Italian crushed 21 winners and demonstrated good touch around the net to overcome the Australian 6-2, 6-3 and seal his 45th tour-level win of the season. Well, Sina competed on home soil in Turin as an alternate last season and is looking to finish the season strongly as he aims to qualify for the prestigious end-of-year event. Now, the 21-year-old now holds a standout 11-0 record in Sofia. He captured the crown on debut at the ATP 250 event in 2020 before he successfully retained his title last year. Now, Sina is just 2 wins away from triumphing again after he overpowered the Australian Vukic to book his spot in the semi-finals after 81 minutes. The 2019 Intensa São Paulo next-gen ATP Finals champion will next face 5th seed Holger Rune after the Dane edged Ilya Ivashka 6-2, 5-7, 6-4. In motorsports, now Finnish driver Kalle Rovanperä powered to the top of the timesheets today at Rally New Zealand to give himself a chance at his first WRC title this weekend. And that's all the time we have for tonight. Headline of our bulletin: no specific date was suggested for the dissolution of Parliament. And for more news, don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 12:30 afternoon on TV2 and saluran Berita RTM. Now, folks, before you go, we will leave you with a clip of a rare sun halo phenomenon recorded in Bolivia. Till then, Malaysia, I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos. It's lights out for now. Goodbye.